Good afternoon. We're still in Australia, but who knows what other school systems there are around the world that have the power to monitor all of the children's behaviour throughout their schooling years, right? This comes back to a very basic, I don't know, is it ethics, or where is the line between me being able to look after and make the decisions for my child and somebody else being able to take over that role and exclude me from the equation? I mean, it's quite a thing. So I was talking about the one school system in Australia last night, and then went to bed. Obviously the mind works, and whoosh, before you know it, it's opened up a massive can of worms, hasn't it? Now, as a parent, one job to protect my children, isn't it? Now, how can I protect my children if that power is taken away from me? Where is the logic, right, in our children being profiled from their school days? Why? Where is the necessity? Why? There's the argument that, well, listen, just make sure he doesn't get into trouble, and then, but that isn't always the case, is it? If you have some rogue education staff, and they are the ones who have a problem with your child, game over, isn't it? Because everything that happens in their school years, when they're an adult, let's not be stupid, let's not be naive, all of that information is instantly going to get passed on to the next department, isn't it? So now you find yourself in a situation where everybody behind the closed doors has more information about your own children than you'll ever have. In fact, they will have information about your child, things that happen in their school years that the children can't even remember happening, right? And that's all passed on to the next government agency, right? Now, there comes a time, right, when the experiences that you see happening should be as equal, or if not more important, than the things that people will tell you about that could happen in the future, right? If you've seen things happen and you hear other people saying, right, well, in the future this could happen, and so we're going to do this, but you've been watching what's been happening over a number of decades, for example. Information, people's information, private information, right? It's one of the biggest issues that there is, isn't it? Or people are stealing your information. Now, in my time, my experiences tell me, this is just pure logic and common sense, right? I'm being objective here, right? This has no bearing or nothing to do with anything that may be happening in my own private life, right? This is an objective view about something that I see as quite a serious matter, right? And our children's futures, is it not up to us? Right? That's what this is about. So back to the breach of information, people's information being leaked. I say to myself now, right, everything I've seen, everything I know, what I've been through, how many times have I met somebody who said, oh no, somebody stole my identity. They've got my bank card numbers, my passwords, and they're running around using my identity, buying cars and stuff. Never. So every now and again you hear somebody who knows somebody maybe that something may have happened. Once in a blue moon, a news article will pop up. Oh, lady in wherever had her identity stolen and she's battling to get it back, right? Okay, a handful of times. Now, how many times have you heard on the news a government agency has been breached and everybody's info has been lost? One time, one of those occasions, that once, it's easily going to equal and be more than every single time an individual person has lost that information through no fault of their own, all right? Somebody steals a car, steals your wallet, you've got hours few to sort all of that out. Otherwise, they could use your cards, got your driver's license. What are they going to do? It's limited. The amount of damage they can do, let's face it, it's limited. You've still got yourself, haven't you? We're talking about information. But on the flip side of that coin, all of that information and more is being held by everyone, isn't it, already? So if you break it down, what does it matter if I lose my wallet right now, right? If every government agency since I was a child has been monitoring everything that I've been doing, right? They know about everything that I've ever done, things that I did at school. Well, they don't, because I was going to school before all of this insanity was around. But right now, today, I can see how everything has been playing out. And it is a danger, because if we don't stand up for our children now, they are going to have no chance whatsoever, right? Loads of messages from last night when I posted about the one school in Australia. I haven't even read one of them because I already had what I'm saying now in my mind. And I don't want to get derailed or start having discussions with people about things that don't matter, right? It's about knowing what the important things are. So I'm not going to get into a discussion for 3 hours about something that happened in a classroom and no. It's not about that. We're talking about the big issues, right? So it would seem at the moment that the school has more rights over your child than you do. When did that happen? How did that happen? What if it's not a hypothetical scenario, okay? Because it's happening now, right? Let's say, for example, we're back at school, we've got a child at school, they're having trouble, right? Through no fault of their own. There's a clash of personalities with a couple of educational staff at a school. It happens. It doesn't have to be any child's fault. A child could be singled out for an infinite amount of reasons, right? It's reality. I'm using common sense. Everybody thinks we live in some kind of fairy tale, but it isn't, okay? So you have a couple of road teachers and everything goes pear-shaped, and you say, right, that's it, we've got to move school. Now, in the background, you have the one school system. Any school that you decide to move your children to, your child or whatever, any school in Australia, in fact, right, everybody has, all the schools have the network where they can, let's say a family takes their child to Perth from Queensland because they had so much trouble at school in Queensland and they couldn't resolve anything, so look, let's go. Not doing this, right? When you get to Perth, the school that the child was at in Queensland, if they decide to follow up, they can simply find out which school they're going to, or get on one school. They might know a teacher at that school in Perth. There'll be a network, right? And You think you're safe and sound, but what you don't know is going on in the background. The school that you just turned up to, first thing on the Monday morning after moving to Perth, they already know all about everything, right? So you find yourself in a situation where the stuff that they know about your child, that you don't even know, has already been passed on. Now, it doesn't matter what anybody says, it's ethically wrong, right? Why does anybody need to know everything that happens in a child's schooling years? I can understand there being a need for IDs if there is a serious incident, something that needs, then fair enough. But trivial things, and when we say trivial, don't forget that we're talking about it's the relevant teachers writing the relevant reports about each particular child that decide what is serious and what isn't. They decide everything. They decide whether to make an entry about something that's happened or not. So it's not like it's an objective, there's an overall standard that needs to be adhered to. How can that happen if each individual teacher has the ability to log on to a Oneschool and either read reports or add something, subtract something? It's way beyond, I'm sure, ethically, where things need to be. Now, again, as a parent, right, you want to be able to pass down the lessons that you've learned to your children, don't you? Everything that you've been through firsthand, you want to be able to pass those lessons down and warn your children of the dangers, right? Now, what happens after that, when you're out of the picture? There's not much you're going to be able to do about that, right? Hang on. All right, mate. Love you. There isn't that much that you're going to be able to do if you're not in the picture. Something happens to you, you've passed on everything that you know that you think is important for your children to know, right? Your own personal experience, not what school tells them, not what the government tells them, what you think is important, right? It seems like we've lost that right, even, right? And then you're out of the picture, your kids, you've done the best you can to warn them about the dangers of life, and then it's in their own hands, right? But they'll always have the advantage of what you've taught them, right? Now, if that right is taken away and you're not even allowed, you don't get the chance to pass on any information, relevant information that you think is important that they should know, then where are we at? All of a sudden, as an individual, you don't have any powers left. Not powers, rights. So I guess it's a big one, isn't it? Right? It started with the Oneschool thing, but all of a sudden, boom, 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 hang on. This is where we're at. I don't know what other countries may have something in place to monitor the children from school, and all of that stuff gets passed on as they go through life. I think it's wrong. Now, the main reason it's wrong, and it really can't be argued with. Anybody who argues against this is obviously, I don't know, right? If you care about your children and you have a logical mind and you have a little bit of common sense, you can see what the dangers are. It's all very well and good. Like now, at the moment, the governments, you'd think that you'd be safe, right? That your personal information, you don't think that there would be rogue teachers and stuff like infiltrating the education system. I mean, it could happen with the pharmaceutical companies as well, couldn't it? You get the wrong person in the wrong place and people don't realise what's going on. Vushka! That person, all of a sudden, is in a powerful place. They are in a position to affect the decisions that affect a lot of people's lives, don't they? Right? So you find yourself powerless to help your children, don't you? Because you lose the ability to even be able to warn them about the things that you think are important, right? So again, the line, where is the line? Where is the line? Sorry, that's what I was saying. We wouldn't think that the current governments would be involved in something like that. But as history has shown us, right, and you have to pay attention to history, the history that could be true, because at the end of the day, everything that we read, everything that we hear about, it doesn't necessarily mean it's real. When you've got a system where the people in charge are also in charge of all of the information that is ever leaked, not leaked, but as knowledge, books even, you find yourself in a position where it's difficult to weed out what's real and what's not out of everything that's going on, right? So, and the further we're moving down this road, the blurrier everything that's happened before us becomes, right? As an individual, our ability to pass knowledge on to our children, to our actual offspring, right, is being taken away from us by the very system who is telling us that they need this information to keep us safe. No, I don't think so. Surely there must come a time when people can say, look, hang on, listen, I just feel that my information would be safer just with me, right? Let me worry about it. Yeah, you can understand the ID card, and you know, everybody has a national identity card and certain things for identification purposes, for social services and stuff like that. But you ring some company now about something, email address, date of birth, driver's license number, passport number, children's date of birth, vaccination status. Hang on a minute. Do we really need all this? Are you telling me that with all of the technology that is around right now, that the government agencies cannot come up with something like, something of what size? Let's say like something of this size, right? Hang on. Something of this size. A card, right? That holds your information, but is secure. All right, so I have this, it's my form of ID. Doesn't matter what company I ring, there's a set of numbers on here that I tell the person who picks the phone up, those numbers identify me, right? Could be another two-factor authentication added to it. They send a message to your phone in that moment, like we have now, so that they know that the person that they're talking to not only has the card, they also have the device linked to that card that they just sent you the security number to. Then you read it out. 112233. Yes, okay, that's obviously you. The end. Why does everything have to get more complicated from there? Why do they need all this stuff? Aren't they always telling us that? No, what they do say is in the future with the quantum thing, we will have security that will never be able to be breached. But it's coming in the future. So just hang on for a little bit more and just keep on doing what you're doing and keep giving us all of your information until that technology becomes available. No. I'm worried about now. I'm worried about my child and his personal information. I know for a fact that if my children keep their own personal information and have just one form of ID, which should be standard, you know, police pull you over for something, you go into a social services place and they need to identify you. Is one not enough? If you lose it, you know, you're going to know within a day or two, you ring in somewhere and you cancel it. And then there's a trace point. If anybody tries to use it for anything, boom, it gets stopped. They issue you another one. Why is everything more complicated than that? Why does every single agency need to know everything about you? Go to the video store and they know more about you than you know about yourself. It's rubbish. There's no need for it. It's scaremongering. See, this is standing up for what is right, in a sense, and it's all being triggered by what's happening at schools. I think there's a line that's being crossed. I'm not comfortable knowing that if there's a rogue teacher in one school that any amount of children could be having trouble with, that there is a way for that rogue teacher, rogue deputy principal, rogue principal, to relay any information onto any other school that that child might have to go to because it's not working at the current one. All of a sudden you find yourself fucked, don't you? So, yeah, I'll check the messages now, the ones from last night, but don't waste my time with trivial stuff, right? This is basically about human rights. Where is the line? Why can't I decide what I do with my personal information? It's going to be safer with me. In the US now, there's cases of pharmaceutical companies swapping people's DNA details for money. Here's one, right? This was at Ancestry.com. Send in a hair and we'll tell you about your family tree. How many people sent in hairs, swabs, DNA to tell them somebody has found out how to trace your family tree back 8 generations and you've sent in your DNA? Now, seriously, is there any chance that that Ancestry.com company is a government company and they just found a way to get your DNA, which now is basically being traded on the stock market? When does people's own individual rights to be an individual kick in? When can you say, no, hang on, I would like to make the decisions for my children? That's what this is all about. When you have so many agencies, right, and they are able to maintain continuity, right? It's continuity. They've got databases that go back 200 years, right? It's like the church. Continuity. They've got a record of everything that has been going on for God knows how long, right? But your average Joe, I can't remember any stories that even my grandfather really told me about, advice, or it's lost, isn't it? It's lost. And because there's so much chaos that we have to deal with, it's very easy for those who can maintain continuity throughout the ages to get a good grip. They control everything, don't they? They create chaos, disrupt everything at the same time as maintaining order, right? It's a very tricky game that is being played, and it isn't very difficult to work out if you can be objective enough to see certain scenarios, and those certain scenarios have nearly all happened, right? Surely thinking that giving all of your information to somebody else and relying on that information to forever remain guarded by a certain government agency it's being naive, isn't it? Because you don't know what the next government, their motivation is going to be. And if they have all of that information and you haven't had a choice because you just don't, well, where, once again, does your individual right start and finish, and theirs start and finish? Who has more right over your child? them or you, right? So that's what this is about. It's quite a big one, really. And just a little link, right? The education systems, and I assure you that I'm right. And once you start digging that common sense back out, you'll see it, right? They have muddied the waters to make everything seem complicated, right? They've put everybody in a position where we all need them, don't we? They're telling us about the age of the universe. But during a solar eclipse, the education system that is keeping records of your children from the day they go to school, and that is following them, a profiling throughout their lives, is also teaching that there are photons travelling from the sun and taking 8 minutes and 20 seconds to get to the moon. Now, how can that be if, when we're in a solar eclipse and you're in the sweet spot on planet Earth and you have the moon smack bang in between you and the sun, how on earth can the sun be directly behind the moon if it really has taken 8 minutes and 20 seconds for the shadow to be appearing from the moon onto Earth? Why is the sun directly behind the moon still? Listen, it is about common sense. It's not complicated. It's not complicated. Strip away all of the horseradish and it's ABC 1, 2, 3. So all of a sudden, not only are you not able to protect your child, the very people who are claiming to be educating are, I mean, we don't want to mix this in with everything else, but they're all linked, right? How do we protect our children from everything around us? So I'll probably take a few comments after this one, but yeah, these are serious issues. It's about human rights, I do believe. We don't have any left. Can't even look out after our children. You want to teach them, you want to give them advice, but it's not that easy. When you're gone, when you are gone, they can't come back to you and say, hey, what about this? What would you have done in this situation? Because you're gone. So anything that you need them to know, you need to be telling them now, right? And when they start flapping their wings and move off on their own, you just have to hope that they understand that they are responsible for themselves. They can only be responsible for themselves. You teach them what you can. After that, whether they take that advice or they don't, it's up to them, right? You can only do so much, right? All right, on that note, I am going to have a coffee. I will be back. Of course, the bloody light from the sun is absolute. Layers.